Good morning, everyone. Let me know if you guys can hear me. I just want to try the live stream again. What's up, Simone? How are you? How are you, Anis? How are you, Alyssa? Good morning. Good morning. Let's try to try something like new this time. I know every single morning I block out like 30-45 minutes to like record, so why don't I just like go live, knowing the fact that the live stream works consistently based on our experience yesterday, even though it's like a like two fail and then one, I guess, like a success. Good morning, Mose. Good morning, Josh. Good morning, Ramin. Awesome. Well, I guess people are still waking up as we are coming back from the holidays in the US. So just look at the market across the spectrum. Seems like as of this market open, across the board, we're pretty much normalizing from the healthy buying activities that we saw yesterday. Dow Jones, S&P, Nasdaq, all down 1% respectively. Oil prices has also normalized a little bit, about like $108 per barrel. But just levitating around like 0.05%. While the 10-year yields is interesting is that it has declined back below 3%. So we are actually trading around 2.833%, which is good in comparisons to weeks ago around like the FOMC, the CPI report time period. It was around like 3.2% at one point, even 3.4% at one point as well. Seems like the across the spectrum is normalizing. But in terms of like any specific news that I'm seeing that is really seismic or really driving the needles, I would say today, I guess, like this morning's sell-off, more of a normalization, right? Like for Ethereum specifically, we were trading at about 1150 yesterday, and that was like the next level of resistance, which subsequently, as you get rejected, you have to come back down to more of a next level down of support, right? So we are trading at basically, if you could round it up, right? Basically 11 or like 1,100, or the next approximate level will be 1,050. So contingent on us like being able to get supported above 1,050, but overall, I would say, you could see that the trend is still relatively bearish. We got rejected, as expected, at 40 out of 70. We also got rejected at the 1150 yesterday. So, which subsequently, as you get rejected from that top resistance, you have to kind of naturally come back down, right? And I'm just looking at the other news to see any seismic drivers. I don't see any specific ones, but on the topic of I'm just like looking on my iPad, which is like where I read the news. I feel like my computer is not able to actually read the news at the same time like live stream without like it crashing or lagging. It's probably because my again, my computer is relatively outdated in a way. Seems like there is some new COVID variant news that's coming out from California. So seems like there are two types of coronavirus wave. One is the BA4 and the other one is the BA5. And basically, based on statistics from the US Center of Disease Control and Prevention, about 2/3 of the states of the country are now in the high contaminated community level. I'm not sure what that really means, but it seems like there's another wave happening and it's blowing up in California. And basically now they are recommending universal masking in both outdoor and obviously indoor public spaces going forward. So it seems like there's another wave happening. So not ideal. So it seems like across the spectrum, I guess the media front is still trying to pick up on the news front, but there is some lingering news around COVID variants that's happening from California, and that's going to spread out if we don't contain it properly, right? So just look at the comment section. I forget to like read the comment section as well. All right, so it seems like the across the news front is I mean not the across the chat front. It seems like the stream is running smoothly, so that's good. Awesome. Yeah, it took me some time to like figure out the OBS system. So yeah, hopefully you guys like the live stream style. I'm trying to do something a little bit different. So let's just dive right into the technicals with respect to recording time of 8:57 a.m. on the Eastern time. Good morning, everyone. Hope you guys all had a great July 4th, by the way. We are exactly below the next level of resistance, which is 1,150, which we got rejected yesterday, or the next level down, which is firstly the flat number, which we're below it right now, right, the 1,100, and the subsequent level would be 1,050, and right now, how does it look like in terms of the momentum-wise? I would say the momentum doesn't look good, right? You could see that every single time we get above to the 40 on the RSI scale, you get rejected, and it's been rejected consistently every single time we get there. And at the same time, you could see that the MACD's already crossed up for quite some time, so you need to kind of cross down, right, for you to replenish the market momentum. And at the same time, we're levitating right now in between levels. So whenever you're in between levels, it doesn't, it doesn't convey a bullish sentiment. And also with respect to the macro catalyst that's lingering on in a near couple days and weeks, right? With respect to the CPI report that's coming out in July, I think on the 13th, and then subsequently the FOMC meeting, which I believe is on the 27th of July or 28th. Feel free to correct me. So I think what do we need to see in the CPI report, right? And I think during summertime the CPI report typically is higher, in comparisons to other months because of like travel season, because of hospitality, and people typically are a little bit more, I guess, generous in terms of spending on the consumer front. But with respect to the lockdown and the travel operational inefficiencies that we're seeing in the airline industry with the shortage of pilots, and we saw like a lot of people were sitting ducks during the July 4th holiday. I hope that the numbers doesn't come out to be a miss, in comparison to Wall Street expectation. And also with respect to the rising gas prices, people are typically less likely or reluctant to obviously travel or like drive anywhere, so they probably would be just sitting home. On top of the fact that with inflationary pressure, the food cost and just anything you buy in general in supermarket or groceries is typically higher than normal times like years ago, right? So we don't know what is the visibility in terms of consumer spending activity for this month. And I hope that Wall Street has made that logical adjustments to the price, to the numbers, that we will come out to be just aligned with expectation, right? But if we miss that expectation on the CPI front, obviously Jerome Powell is going to be having a higher incentive onto raising the rates even higher, right? And I think what we need to get into as we head on to the FOMC meeting is basically, are we going to be raising the rates to 50 basis point only, like the way he promised? Or are we going to do something again, right? Like he called that a rarity of 75 basis point. Because if that's the case, right, 75 basis point was already, quite, aggressive. And if we're going to do that consistently, that can be a quite negative catalyst. And, selling down Ethereum all the way to, the next level of support of 750 all the way to 575, which are the next levels of substantive support, would not be a surprise to us, right? So let's just pray that it will happen. But like collectively, we are observing because we're consumers, so we do have a visibility in terms of how we're spending collectively. So hopefully, we will ride this out like just okay. And after that, obviously with respect to the you do have a gap in between, right, from July all the way to September. August does not have a FOMC meeting, and August is like a time when it's a little bit more chill in comparisons to other months. So hopefully, with that, lack thereof in terms of media front, and also like specific seismic catalysts that can drive the stir into the market, all the way until late September, will convey some healthy buying pressure. Okay. So I'm just looking at the other comments as well. As of latest, okay, I'm hoping it will crash. It will crash. It will always crash. I would say, yeah, I agree because we're still in a downtrend overall, and we're still in a bear market as well, and we've been basically consistently forming staircase, lower case every single time. And in just the near term specifically, right, we're negative on the MACD, negative on the RSI, negative on the charts, and look at the weekly as well, right? Weekly convey a little bit of a slight different story, because of the fact that I do like the fact that the MACD is crossing from below. Momentum is still not the best, right? But because of the fact that it is below, and also let me look at on the monthly. Yeah, same thing on the monthly. So daily looks bearish, but weekly and monthly conveys a optimistic story. Let's just put it that way, that it will crash in the near term, but as we get over the hump, right, all the way down to around 850, 775, 575, which are like the three level of separations, we should technically rebound from there based on the like weeks out and months out from here. Okay. So let me just look at other coins as well. Bitcoin. Yeah, Bitcoin is stale as well. Looking at on a weekly, on the monthly as well. We're basically trading on below $20,000, which is like a monumental mark that we broke as well. And the levels down below are basically all the levels of 500 intervals, right? So like 19,500, 18,500, 17,500. And I think with respect to, are we going to see more sell-off for Bitcoin? I would say yes, we are going to be seeing more sell-off going down, to the next level of support in the near term is going to be 18,500, 17,500 respectively. We got canceled out exactly at 37 out of 70, which is the previous support that we had a while back in late June. So now it's like the opposite. At the same time, the MACD need to cross down, so seeing more pain ahead, triangulating with the timing of the CPI report and the FOMC meeting makes a lot of sense. So let me just look at other comments as well. Please hit the like button, by the way. I know. Let me see. Yep. Okay. And some other questions that I'm also seeing as well is, do you think Coinbase will survive the bear market? I think with respect to the management team, they do have a good amount of cash. And I talked to one of my buddies that worked at Coinbase. They have been thinking about, in a FP&A perspective, which is the financial planning and analysis perspective, they are thinking about trimming the workforce again, and they're also thinking about how they want to triangulate with respect to their capital expenditure front, like the facilities, the real estate property that they're renting, onto streamlining their margins a little bit better so they can ride out this obviously this funk that we're in right now. And also they are exploring debt instruments with the banks, right? So they're probably going to be borrowing some, money as a survival type of mechanism to hopefully, keep them above the water in the near term. So contingent on them being able to like obviously solve that financial, difficulty that they're in and maneuver through this, right, without burning too much cash, and at the same time, can ride out this crypto winter, we should be fine. But ultimately, with respect to the fundamental value of Coinbase is highly undervalued at the moment, right? If you believe in the long term, ultimately, right? Just looking at this, yeah, I think if you have some good buying power, I mean, a lot of people are down right now, like including myself. If you like follow my Patreon, we understand that it's gonna be a painful couple of weeks and months ahead. And why has it been like such difficult time for us? Because like the Feds have not really pulled it through together for us. Like they have always been quite reactive, right? Both on the administrative front and also on the Fed's front. It's almost like they are taking it a day at a time to see how it goes. But in terms of like any strategic measure that they're doing ahead of it happening, I don't feel like they have really done the proper proactive measures, that give us confidence at least, right? So it just feels like every single time we get the statistics, right? We get the report, which is like again is like history, and then they're like, oh, okay, we need to like adjust this number upward or downward, because of what happened. But rather they try to basically do the bottoms up type of approach, right? Like they have a solutions that they want to accomplish, so they have done this analysis and they have done this predictive analysis as well to back up the numbers of where they want to end up at going forward, right? But it feels like every single time just like, oh, we see this like negative statistics, so now I have to kind of use the lever to tweak the number to make it go up, so they have done their job. But that's like not the way to run a business. That's like just like following through when something happens. But that's like how you preventing, how are you, hedging the risk. That's something that is causing a frustration among the market, obviously. I see Edna also has a question. What can we expect as a high for any potential rally? Say we do hit 750, 575. Can we go back to 2000 in 2022, or is that unrealistic? Well, every single time you break below a certain level, it takes probably double the effort to like come back up. And with respect to the timing, I think it's possible but 2000, that's a lot of levels to go up from here, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like just like I think it's like almost 10 levels. Some are more substantive than other based on the consolidated levels that we've had before. But I think with respect to like when does the bullishness start to begin, I don't think it will happen until like much later in late Q3 to Q4, and it's mainly driven by like the Santa Claus rally. You know what I'm trying to say? At which like fund managers are incentivized to be buying around that time period, anyways. And also by then we will see how the Feds will triangulate, like because like all of these rate hikes that we've been seeing so far, like the 75 basis point that just happened previously, the 50 basis point that we potentially be getting this month, and the subsequent times that we'll see, we have to see some sort of do we see some sort of efficacy from those rate hikes, right? Because if we don't, we can be in for more of a longer dragged out type of pain torture, right? So it's really up to the Feds at this point right now. Like right now, a lot of people are still selling on a loss, and the corporate side on the institutional buying activity front, they still have not really pulled back yet, right? They still have not really gain the confidence from the Feds to be buying yet, right? But Q4 they are incentivized because it's something called window dressing among fund managers. They just have to dress up their portfolio. They just have to dress up their numbers to show to the institutional investors, the limited partners, which invest into the funds, that they have done their job. You know what I'm trying to say? So I'm not sure, 2000 by 2020, end of 2022 will be logical, knowing the fact that we are in winter, and winter can drag out from like 6 to 8 months all the way to a year and a half. So we'll see. Simone is asking, I'm gonna short XRP. How low should I take profit since previously FOMC fell 2 cents from 0.4 to 0.2? Let's take a look at XRP, shall we? It's loading. Sorry. Okay. Well, XRP is just like very stale right now. You can see that we are pretty much like trying to form a bottom technically right now. As the MACD line is like fusing together, it's getting tighter and tighter and tighter because of just lack of volume that we're seeing, right? And people are reluctant to be buying or selling XRP at the moment, but we're still in a downtrend following this green line. But on momentum front, right, we are still at a relatively oversold level, about 38 out of 70. So next level of support is going to be somewhere around like 28. So I think the levels down would be just trading on all the intervals of fives, right? Because basically we are we've broken the fundamental value levels. So levels down, if we're following the trend line, will be somewhere around like 25 cents, obviously, 20 cents, and then 15 cents from there if we're going to keep dying from there. So right now, do I see like a major sell-off? I would say no. But do we see a sell-off? Yes, because RSI is still negative. MACD is still curving down, crossing down, so it's still negative. Yeah. But in terms of like the levels down again, right? 30 cents, 25 cents, 20 cents from there. The next question that I see is from Neo. Not from Neo, from Metterly. Let me look at Neo. It's been a while since I last talked about Neo. Okay, so Neo is it's quite interesting. So Neo is we pumped up the way that we have is because of the reverse head and shoulder. So you could see that at the bottom was 1167, and then we have that shoulder number 1, shoulder number 2, and with that being said, it subsequently dragged up the stock, pumping up by, I would say, like 25%, about like from basically around like when we were consolidating around like the $11-13 from there, and then pumped up all the way to obviously at the level that we at right now, at one point to even $24. And we got rejected at $24 is because of the consolidation that we've had prior, that we formed on April 5th. So we got blocked from there. So right now we kind of have to cool down to come back down to more of a normal level. So the level down will be 2015. So what I see this picture going forward is that, knowing the fact that we are forming a death cross slowly, so we are going to have to sell down a little bit more, coming down to more of a normalized level, somewhere between like 1975 to 1820. Allow the market to replenish, cross down, and I think by the CPI, the FOMC meeting time period makes sense. So in the next couple weeks from now, and then cool down the RSI, which you will get support around like 44 out of 70. So by then you will recuperate, and hopefully by then you will, obviously form a new support around the, somewhere around like 1975, and then consolidate and recuperate back up to 2450 again, right? And by then you will have like a, kind of like a cup, right? And then you have to sell down back to the 2230, which will form a handle, and then you pump up from there. So I think Neo right now in the near term, it looks bearish, but in terms of the technical front, I do feel good about the support that we see below. So we will see some short-term volatility, but in the long-term wise, we're still like forming or attempting to form an uptrend right now. So that's a good sign. And I do have to get going soon because my next meeting is in like 15 minutes. But so Josh Byrne has a comment. Catalyst is going down further, being CPI report and then the Fed meeting. It just seems like in general things are so oversold. I'm sure it can go further, but what would be a logical bottom look like? Let's talk about just specifically for Ethereum. Like, what's the logical bottom, right? Like, it's true. Like, you can only sell down for so much. Within the frame of logics, right? You cannot like just like Ethereum go all the way down to $100. Like, that doesn't make sense unless it's like some sort of a major flaw with the fundamentals, right? But in terms of like the fundamentals of Ethereum, it still holds. So in the near term, because of the fact that the MACD line has crossed up and need to cross down, RSI is still dipping. And in the near term, with respect to CPI report and FOMC meeting, I don't know if it's going to be positive or negative, but investors going to try to price in the negativity, even though it hasn't happened yet. Like, that's like, sell the rumors, buy the news, or the other way around, right? So I think the next level of support that we will see somewhere around like 950, 850, 775, which is the real level based on like a long time ago. I'm talking about like years ago. And if we break 775 because of flash crash or just more severe panic, coming down to like 575 would technically be the bottom in the near term per se, right? So yeah, so that's like where I would see it. And for Bitcoin, I think that's so with respect to Bitcoin, I think because it's like the motherlord of all the other coins, so selling down to like if we're gonna follow through the trends, like, and we can potentially crash down all the way to 26, right? I think breaking 17,500 all the way to like 15,000 can be possible for both for like the respective coins that we just talked about. Okay, so I do have to get going, but appreciate you. Let me know if you guys like these type of style. I know like I talked for like 30 minutes, and it's less structure in comparison to like the typical video that I do, but it's a little bit more interactive, and I hope that you guys like this new approach. But I appreciate you, and have a good rest of the day. And for those that are down right now, I'm down just as we are together, and collectively, if we hold tight and hold it for a long term, allow the market cycle to recuperate, we should be just fine. So appreciate you. Have a good rest of the Tuesday. Hope you guys all had a great weekend, by the way, again. And